To order. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, correct? Thank you. And I conduct a roll call. I know that Pat Mosby and John Stone are absent.
No, Pat's here.
I'm here. Sorry. John Stone is absent. Pat?
Here. Kimberly Sorensen here.
Second Wood here.
Sean Hewitt here.
Okay, Richard Sutton here.
And I don't know if Georgiana's coming or not.
Sorry, Georgiana's
Yeah.
not here.
She's not here yet, so.
Okay, not here yet, but expected.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the first matter for approval of the minutes for the May 16th meeting. So I presume that you've had an opportunity to review those minutes, which were in your agenda packets. Any questions, any edits, any alterations to those minutes? If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept those minutes as written.
Motion?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. No opposition. The minutes are approved. Thank you for that. The second item is the nominating committee report. Chair Sean Hewitt. I'd be grateful for your report, Sean.
Yes, sir. Each year, the nominating committee meets for slate officers for the coming year. This year, it was Zach and myself as the committee, and we are recommending the following officers. John Stone is chairman, Richard Tugman vice chair, Pat Mosby secretary treasurer, Kim Sorensen assistant secretary / treasurer. That would be our recommendation, form of a motion.
And that is to be, so there's a motion and a second, and then that gets voted on in July, is that correct?
Mhm.
So I'll ask for a motion to approve the slate as presented by Mr. Hewitt.
I motions to do so.
Second.
All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
No objections? Okay, that's approved and will be presented at the July meeting. The next item on the agenda is the budget review. Margette?
So I circulated the budget. Sorry it was late, but we have obviously had a lot of changes in the department with Anna gone, and this is Keisha's first EDA budget. So I went through all of this with Brown Edwards. So it's submitted. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the reason that we do this is because it allows us to go ahead and move freely about the cabin on programs and different items like that, so that we don't have to bring, you all are seeing everything and you still see it, but we're not re-explaining it every time.
So are there any questions regarding the budget? So I need a motion, I presume, and a second, is that correct, Margette?
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the budget as presented, please?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favour?
Aye.
No objections? Adopted. And then we move on to, I believe, the infrastructure project
Yes.
incentive requests. Margette?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and so we have.
Can I just ask, is it
Yes.
something that needs approval by way of a motion, this what you're about to present?
Yes.
It does, okay. Thank you.
Or I'm asking for you all to vote to encumber the funds, right? It'll all have to be verified, but anyway, there's a couple of projects, one of which Richard will have to abstain, but it's Centra and River Ridge, and I talked about these probably for a year, and I'm just bringing them to fruition to encumber the funds. These are infrastructure related projects, which in my world is something that benefits more than just the person making the request. It usually benefits the public in some kind of way. And therefore it's infrastructure related, and it is, and we have also a small fund called Road, Water and Sewer that we use for some of those things, right? It's not out there. As you all know, our CIP or capital improvement budget for the city is pretty thin, but when we have projects that would really put something make for something really wonderful happening, and somebody else is doing the majority of it. That's how we look at it. So the first thing I want to ask, which will be a little bit off topic here, is that with Janelle and Cameron coming in and kind of auditing everything we're doing, we're looking at technology, the technology we're using and how cumbersome it is and all of that. So we've been using Dropbox because the capacity from a city perspective, that it's never been there for me to store the kind of documents, plans, all that kind of stuff from the minute I got here. That there's not been, enough storage space. So they're looking at everything, and Dropbox is probably going to go. So what I want to say to you all, which I realized this morning when I was making my list, that I hadn't really asked you and hadn't asked the EDA in a long time, is just, we put everything in the Dropbox, and we put it in there so you all can access things anytime, day or night, or you can reference something if you need to. Cameron and Clayton and Keisha have been working on the EDA handbook, which we had moved from making that a paper document that we gave you to something that we could put, online and be able to change it when we needed to. But I really want that to be a resource for you all, that you can go in there and look up anything, because some things here, as Ted can tell you, have an incredibly long history. Right, and just for you to be able to know what category it falls in. And so I've given them the charge of auditing those documents every year to look at what might have changed. Things don't change drastically. But what I'm saying here is that I take your Dropbox, right, and I load that Dropbox up, and then I give you the agenda packet, right, to look in there. So just want to know that when you're in here and we're talking, are you following me? Clayton's really nice to do this, but are you following me in the Dropbox? No shame in here, right? Because you can ask him, it's embarrassing what I don't know how to do. But if you're following along in the Dropbox, then I can have you navigate to things that might be in there that I just wasn't ready for to put in the agenda packet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right, and so we have had times before, probably 10 years ago or 5 years ago, where nobody followed me in the Dropbox. Very few people even opened the Dropbox. If they did, they came in here and they got one of staff to help them get it open. So all I'm saying is, I thought about it this morning, and Cameron has been relentless about asking everybody, and Janelle, about asking everybody, how do you use this? What are you using it for? What does it do? This, that, and the other. But we didn't ask you. So I'm just you don't have to give me the answer right now, but the truth is we probably are going to be switching over to something else. The city uses SharePoint, switching over to something else, and Dropbox can be maddening because of the fact that it has to sync up.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's no naming conventions.
There you go.
Word. Yes. And that means that I'm here very early in the morning, and I'm usually incredibly angry by the time the rest of the staff gets here, because I've spent the morning looking for something that they called something different than what I think it is. Right? So really, really thorough cleaning it all up. So what I want you all to know is that we appreciate your service more than we can tell you. So anything that makes your life easier, just like Richard, if you've got an assistant that you want us to make sure these documents get to, so you get it printed out and can have it in a folder ready to roll, any of that, all you have to do is let us know. And when we move over, please know that we're here to support you in being able to, because I really want you to know at any time, we're here to answer the question. But also that there's a lot of documentation, and that we want you to be able to go in that Dropbox. We've cleaned the Dropbox up. Anna cleaned that up before she left and doesn't let a lot of iterations of something go in there. But we're working on all of that. So I have paper copies on what we're talking about right here. But it's also in the Dropbox. Yes, absolutely.
So, from my perspective, Dropbox is not the optimal tool for this sort of
Agreed.
organisation.
Agreed.
It's, well, it's just not. I've had also security issues in terms of getting into it from a central perspective. That's central. So Barbara Atkins has been a bit frustrated with it, but just as a tool, generally speaking, compared to what I'm used to using
Yes,
for board governance and for auditing trails, for naming conventions, for finding things, Dropbox is not that tool. Dropbox is not designed for that, frankly. And so there are other tools out there. Central Use Board Advantage through NASDAQ, which is, I suspect, very expensive and probably not affordable. I don't know that. But there are better tools out there for governance, for audits, for naming, for finding documents, just navigation, security, that would be better.
yes.
It's like, and I like SharePoint.
SharePoint, I think we've used SharePoint. The problem is it's not designed either, really, for in a governance structure. We looked at SharePoint at Central a while back, but it's just not. Sackett, you probably were familiar with that, I'm sure. It's not designed with an envelope in mind for really sort of good governance. So my view, SharePoint is it's a bit of a band-aid the way Dropbox is a band-aid. I think you need a purposeful design tool, technology for these sorts of organizations which have a governance overlay.
Right.
And
so,
especially a history.
yes.
Where people disappear, right? We leave, we retire, we die. That there ought to be a platform that does that efficiently, so people coming back later on can find things easily.
Right.
And what does Central use?
Board Advantage, I think it's called.
Board Advantage.
Board Advantage, which is NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ tool. So it's Board Advantage.
Yeah, so-
It's pretty easy to use.
So
It's
the-
very intuitive,
Yeah.
Once you get the hack of it.
Yeah.
And so the only the limitation for us is always gonna be the money, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that, that we can use, but, the EDA has its own money, so what we've been limited to is, really working with IT, if you can imagine, right? They do the best they can, right? And they have budget limitations, just like anybody else.
Is there a city tool, a government, something that's recommended by the whatever association of city governments or?
What
Yeah,
is it
exactly.
called? What is it?
Civic Plus.
Civic Plus? Yeah,
Is
and
that-
then,
So Civic Plus has, a plethora of software that comes under them. They do everything from agenda software to CRM software, CM, like everything,
Yeah.
but they don't really have storage.
Okay.
So when it comes to storage, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever your organization is doing. Here, they use SharePoint. Back where I was out in California, we had our own personal servers.
Yeah.
That's expensive
Yeah.
because storing data is hard, but at least we had our own servers and we had fiber, so we weren't at the mercy of SharePoint or anybody else. We
Sure.
just had a shared drive inside. So, and data is expensive.
Yeah.
Storing data anywhere is
Yeah.
expensive. I've never heard of Boardvantage. I might look into them.
Yeah.
But in any capacity, working with whatever the city is already doing, it's going to be easier for us as a department because IT is going to be there to help and troubleshoot. So that means SharePoint and OneDrive. It's not my favorite, but it's better than Dropbox because I hate Dropbox. I really
You're
hate
not
Google
alone.
Drive. And everybody's been using Google Drive because it's easy for sharing, but it is not secure in any capacity. It's not great for archiving. It's not great for FOIA requests. It's local government. You gotta
Yeah,
do something that's got
That's why I
security
thought that maybe there's something more deliberately designed for the environment.
Yeah.
But it comes at a price.
yeah, we will definitely look into it, but I just wanted to say
Okay.
that because, we've also tried to, we purchased iPads for EDA members when the planning commission finally, purchased iPads for, their folks. And if you can think about the people that probably have the most robust storage needs, it would be the EDA, because there's not much you consider that hadn't already gone through there, and then the whole set of plans or all that, especially stuff that Clayton's been doing. So anyway, really quickly, if you just, these are in the Dropbox, but they're also in my hand here, just in case, to make it quick. And what I've done is, pick one of each.
Oh, one, and then one of those ones comes back later. Okay.
So where do I repeat this? Do I leave the room or?
No, but then I'm
No.
I'm just
Okay, so,
not familiar enough with it.
The first one is Centra, and it's the project on Langham Road. And this is a taxable,
I think we have River Ridge Mall.
We have River Ridge, we don't
right,
have
it's
Central.
coming. Will you take one, Ted, and pass them down?
That.
You should have two,
Yeah, we got it.
the mall and,
Yeah.
and Central.
So I'm gonna do Centra, and so this is the building on Langham Road. Brand new, 125,000 square foot taxable, office building. And they are going to, have a parking lot and allow for trail connection. So the trail will come down through their property and connect back up with the city, with the Blackwater Creek Trail System.
And it goes back up to Lincoln Middle,
yeah.
right?
So this is infrastructure to me, and this is a great thing, right, that they're gonna do. And so, I just considered the capital investment that they're gonna make and the increase in real estate. So I use your same incentive policy for everything. And so this one is, it will be complete in October of 2025, according to, Centra. And, I would just encumber, 350 to assist with that trail. And we would, our people in Parks and Rec are on the phone working with Centra in this connection and everything. So they will go out and inspect and all of that. So, and it also is, we have a road, water and sewer fund that we use for infrastructure related projects that are gonna benefit the public or multiple constituents. Okay, the next one was River Ridge, and River Ridge over, the last year or so has added, excuse me, all of those names that are on there, Papagayo, Duck Donuts, Ulta, Home Goods, all of that, right? They don't come that's a taxable property, even though it's owned by Liberty. They don't come forward for any kind of incentives other than the enterprise zone and that kind of stuff. Well, they wanted to, if you remember last year, and they came to me way before this, is they were bringing ice skating to the mall to try to drive traffic there, which is like a tourist attraction. So they put in a generator and some different things that will remain there and be used for multiple things. They're really hoping to take, if you've seen any of the renderings of it, to take that back part where Macy's was and make that kind of a town square area where they could hold kind of public events. And so, as you see, in 1 year, that's what they are generating from a sales meals tax kind of situation there back to the city. And so they just asked for they sent me all of the cost associated with the putting that, having that generator and things put in there, to hopefully either bring the ice back or bring other types of outdoor, public events. Now, the ice, you have to pay to rent your skates and stuff, but still it's an amenity. So, both of those I'm bringing forward because I would like to just encumber, those funds.
So procedurally, has this happened separately? Are there a motion and a second for each?
Yeah, yes.
So,
Centra, Richard can't vote on that. He's recused
Richard
himself.
abstained.
So it's 350?
Yeah.
Central? Okay, 86.
Just curious, like in the last 5 years, do you remember off the top of your head, how many requests have we had? Not many.
Not at all. I mean, most of the time, if it's an infrastructure related type of item, I'm working with the company way ahead of time to look at that. I mean, if I had my druthers, Sean, in an incentive world, we're gonna always try to work with the company or the prospect or anybody to make it an infrastructure related situation, right? Because that way the citizens are not only, going to be, the citizens here will already get their, whatever money is spent there, that money will come back into the coffers, right? And wouldn't have been there should they have not done this. But also it's like, if you pick up and leave in the middle of the night, I still keep the trail. If you pick up, if you do whatever that I've gotten what we needed to have there. So we do it sparingly, but we here recently, right? I would love for lots of our requests to be infrastructure related. Just like Delta Star, part of Delta Star is gonna be making a road or a driveway down into that, into their plant. But that is a public, that will be a public road, so part of that was an infrastructure request.
So money for this comes from, we have a fund that has like
Yeah,
6 or
that's what
7
I'm saying.
million,
No,
not
How
that
how
big
much is in
one.
that fund?
it's probably 300, it gets replenished every year if council approves it, right?
Okay.
But I never leave anything just sitting in there,
Okay.
right? I try to encumber it, if
Okay.
I can,
So the
or,
following
I try to put a project name on it, so that's what I'm doing
So this is like 430,000,
here.
you just said 300,000.
Right, but I'll get another influx July 1st.
Okay, so we'll have,
We'll
So
have
if you
the
go
money.
look at road, water and sewer, it will have the names, it's got Delta Star and what that is and
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Okay.
And back to your point about how you look at it, is there are it's just like incentives that you all approve, there are years when we don't have any.
Right.
Right, and so what you don't want is, you don't wanna have money there.
Sitting there.
You don't wanna have money there, you wanna really try to actively, because that's what it's there for, it's there to help, for the city not to carry the burden for all infrastructure projects, as the private sector's doing something and we were able to incentivize it, hopefully it's infrastructure related.
If I could pull up my Dropbox, I could see the balance sheet, but I feel like there is a reserve that we have of multi-million. What point do we trigger and use that for something in the city? Or do we just sit on that and collect
Well,
interest?
I'm just saying, you have to be prepared at all times if a prospect came in here and you're already encumbered. You have it might be sitting there looking like that, but it's got encumbrances on it
Okay,
for things that you are already doing. And it's like, if somebody comes to me and they want X amount of dollars in something, we don't have any trigger except going to council individually on each thing. You all are the only ones with a policy. And therefore, being prepared to be able to do that. The only reason that money is there is just because that is like 30 or 40 years of being great stewards of, of the money that came in for different things, right? And you could spend all that money in a heartbeat if you're left to do Ivy Creek. That Ivy Creek site would
Right.
break you immediately. So there's gotta be a balance there, right? Every EDA, every council, all that has their own personality, and for many a year here, the EDA has carried all of the freight for incentives. It has not been replenished by council. It is all you. And right now, it's still that way unless we have a project, like Project Range was one of the first ones that I could lean into that really made sense on a capital investment side, that the city could do something on that side. But for the whole 19 years I've been here, you all are the be all and end all for all incentives. You're the only thing that allows me to tell somebody, we want you to come here and here's what we would do, right? And the governor's not doing anything unless I can tell him that I'm gonna match whatever he's gonna do, or she.
Sorry, our replenishment comes from where?
Nowhere. It comes from your investments.
Are there any other questions regarding this? I'm going to take these requests separately.
Yeah.
I guess. And I will start with the first one, which is well, does it matter? Which one goes? Okay, we'll go with the centre one first. So I presume the motion is to approve the central office building incentive worksheet as presented to the committee. I need a motion in support of that.
I make a motion that we approve the central office building
I second trail infrastructure.
trail.
Yes, as presented. I need a second for that, please.
I second that.
All in favour?
Aye.
And I recuse myself from that.
Ted, as a member of the foundation board, is that?
No, foundation board is totally separate.
Yeah, totally
That's-
separate.
Making sure.
Thank you. Second.
The second motion, like motion based upon the document presented to the committee, the River Ridge Mall incentive worksheet encumbrance.
Mhm.
I need a motion in support of that.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Sackett. A second, please.
Second.
All in favour?
Aye.
Abstentions? Approved, presented. Thank you very much, Margette.
That's awesome.
Thank you. So that allows us then to move on to the staff reports. Back to you, Margette.
Yep. So you all can see, Clayton, everybody that's involved does a great job of listing all the things that we have going on here. We're really trying to close up the grants that we have for the Airport Commerce Park and Ivy Creek. And, we are so incredibly grateful, to council for the CIP money that has been left in this year's budget for, the development of those two sites, predominantly Ivy Creek, trying to get access to that site. Clayton's working really hard to, get the set of plans reviewed, so other than building, a spec building, what you want to have is plans that if a prospect comes in, you can show them that you have all the plans and reviews and everything's been done and they can move on it, right? And then the other side of it is to get access to it. So access meaning some sort of road, something to it. So this is absolutely unprecedented that council has left. So we are moving down the road of them, really grasping what it takes to do economic development. You need to have inventory, you need to have sites or at least approval of plans for sites. So that is just huge that has been approved. So now Clayton's got to get to work to execute on that. And that's no easy feat, just to kind of project manage what that is going to look like. And so if you all have, we're going to go into closed session, but if you all have any questions for me, I think one of the things, Clayton and I were talking about it this morning, and I've talked to you all about it before, is just the balance between quality of life or the tourism aspect of visitor, I like to call it visitor rather than tourism, side of the house and the industrial kind of ED side of the house. And I think that from a marketing perspective, and I've said this before, anything that we do on the visitor services side of it also benefits us on the talent side of it. So they really are kind of married there together, but the visitor services, quality of life, all that kind of stuff, that is very important. Hotels are very important, restaurants are very important, attractions are very important. If you're a city that has 4 or 5 colleges, the way, and they're tax exempt, the way that you have economic impact is by providing those things and having things available for that. So that's why we lean in on that side. I also think it's a triple, bottom line, it benefits the visitor, it benefits the businesses that are here, helps us prospect for businesses, and it benefits our own citizens because they can take advantage of those things as well. So we've started loading up your staff report with things that are going on the visitor services side of the house, the different things like that. And so I'll just mention, no, first of all, your Christmas present for me was 2 tickets to End Station, so don't let that pass you by.
That's sitting on my desk to
Right,
call.
so if you
It's coming
call,
this
there's a
month.
special, Patrick has a special thing that says when the EDA members call, do this. So you don't wanna miss this, it's gonna be at Point of Honor. Both performances are gonna be, at Point of Honor. End Station is doing some unbelievable things in the intern or apprentice space, as well as, bringing, students through there, kind of like Vector Space does, but only on the arts and cultural side of it. So, we've been looking into some of that, but they ought to be great. They always are. And I just want to remind you of that. I want to remind you of the July meeting is your annual meeting where you elect officers. So that'll be at 8:30 in here. And then we do a retreat. And so I'm asking you to block off just so, because you'll already have that day blocked off, but if you just block it off till lunch. And so this will be a field trip. So we are going to take you to the sites. We're going to take you to Abbey Creek. We're going to take you out there to see all of that. Then we're going to take you to your other industrial park, Lynchburg Center for Industry, where you will get a tour, the first one, of Bosch and Long.
So what day is that, Ronnie?
That's gonna be on the 18th. And then we will do what we always do, which is we'll have lunches, right? But you can grab it and go, or, stay, whatever it is that you choose to do. I'm just asking you to, to block off that, if you can, to block off that. And there's lots of you here that haven't been on a tour, or if you have, it's been ages ago. So we really want to take you out there and show you exactly what I just was talking about.
There's my apologies, I will not be able to.
I'm sorry, I won't either. We have our annual
And-
retreat that day.
Yeah, I have
Oh, boy.
to check too. I'm just emailing, I have a meeting with the planning commission, but I don't know what time that is.
All right, well, we might then, if so many of you can't be there, because I hate to do that Bosch and Lom has to check with their corporate office.
Yes.
and do
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
She's like,
Right.
Well, I did,
So I'll ask them if there's any movement there, and all we would do is just change the date. Right, and I'll make sure you know.
I mean, do we want to even, maybe the next week or?
Yeah, sure, we can, let me ask them first what they can do, because that's my big thing, is
Sure.
that they haven't had any, since they did that huge expansion, they just haven't been able to line it up with their home office people and all that. So this was like a really appreciated, really big deal. So I'll look into that. Thanks so much for.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem for telling me now, and we will, as long as Ted knows that he gets the notice out within whatever amount, 3 days or that kind of thing, we'll get it straight. Okay. All right, that's all I have on that.
that's lovely. In that case, we can move to the closed session. And in that context, Ted, could you read the code section
Yes.
that allows us to go into closed session?
Somebody make a motion pursuant to 2.23711 A5 of the Code of Virginia for the discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, of the disposition of public held property where a discussion in open meeting could adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Are we now officially in closed session?
You need to take a vote.
Oh, sorry. A vote, please. All in favour?
Aye.
No abstentions?
Okay.
Thank you. We're in closed session.
Okay.
I'll check.
from meeting requirements of Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed session are heard, discussed, or considered by the board of directors.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
I'll second, I'll second Pat's.
I was trying to remember the number. that
All
you
in
gave.
favour?
Aye.
Passed, thank you, Ted. In which case, we are now out of closed session,
And
back to open session. I don't think there are any other items, are there? In which case, we can call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.